There's a powerful story of a French hostage who was kept by ISIS for 10 months. His name is Nicolas Hénin, and now he's back in Europe, and he had a powerful story to tell, and he told it through the Syria Campaign. And it was really interesting for me to see. I think it's going to be interesting for you guys to see. It was a harrowing experience as he was held hostage all that time, and there were other hostages with him, and it didn't end well in that case. He explained, Mohammed Emwazi was one of my captors. He's the one who murdered my friends. I can't prevent myself from thinking for the 6 murders that he committed. Face the camera, murders of Westerners. How many Syrians did he kill? And who cares for them, right? So obviously this guy's got all the right in the world to be upset. Not only was he held hostage for that long, but he saw 6 of his friends murdered brutally by ISIS. He said, the jihadis lived in a parallel world, in a different matrix. They believed in a mad prophecy that there would be a global confrontation between a coalition of 80 armies against an army of Muslims coming from all over the world, and were, quote, a bit out of their mind. Okay, so that makes sense. And it is true, they have this vision of this prophecy. Now, not all Muslims agree. They fight against Shia Muslims. Shia Muslims have a different prophecy. And then most Muslims don't believe in either one of those prophecies. They might be Sunni, but they don't believe in the 80 nations coming together to fight, etc. Everybody's got a different interpretation of the text. But this is a very, very, very dangerous one, right? So, well, what shall we do then? You would think that this is when most right-wingers, and unfortunately in this country now it's not even right-wingers, it's even reporters like Jim Acosta at CNN yelling at the president, you know, we got the greatest military in the world, why don't we go take out the bastards, right? Now, they are bastards. Look at what they did to these hostages, right? But the question is, how do we defeat them? And that's where this French hostage makes a really interesting point. He says, strikes on ISIS are a trap. The winner of this war will not be the parties that have the newest, most expensive, most sophisticated weaponry, but the party that manages to have the people on its side. So here's a guy who was on the ground, who was right there with them. And he's saying, you think you're hurting them with the bombing, but you're not. You're helping their cause. It helps them say 2 things. See, we told you that 80 countries would come against us. That's why they're attacking madly. Russia, France. Now, UK just joined the war. US, they're attacking all of us because it's part of their prophecy. And then they get to say when there's a counterattack, look at all the bombs that the Russians and the Americans just dropped on you. See, they hate you. Come join our side. They view you as all the same, all Muslims, right? Yes, that's true. We're all Muslims, ISIS says. Come join us in our version of Islam, right? So here's more from Henin. He says, at the moment, with the bombings, we are more likely pushing the people into the hands of ISIS. What we have to do, and this is really key, we have to engage the local people. This is an argument that we've seen from other smart people, scholars in the area. They say, look, you kill people with the bombings, even if you have the right people, well, new people will sprout up and they have the same ideas. The problem isn't killing the people, it's killing the idea. Now, that's much harder to do, but it's what we must do. We can't just say, oh, it's hard, so let's not do it. Let's just do the stupid thing that's counterproductive and creates more terrorists, more people fighting against us. And here's a guy who's held hostage by ISIS for 10 months saying, don't do that, you're helping ISIS, it's a trap. So here's more. He says, why are we making so many mistakes? Why are people so much misunderstanding the region? We are just fueling our enemies, fueling the misery, the disaster for the local people. And he said the summer refugee crisis had been a propaganda blow to ISIS. Images of refugees fleeing the Muslim quote-unquote dreamland and being welcomed in the lands of the unbelievers had given a lie to their message of Western hatred towards Muslims. And he explains, well, so as they saw people fleeing from their so-called dreamland, they were in a panic. Part of the reason why they attack so aggressively, so that they can get us to make the mistake of closing off our walls and saying, see, we're going to keep, even the people running from ISIS, the Syrian refugees who are desperate to get away from these maniacs, we're going to reject them, and we're going to say, you're all the same. And then ISIS goes, yes, we told you we were all the same. Now come back, and instead of trying to flee to the West, fight the West. Don't help them. Don't help them. One last quote here from Henin. He says, And that is why they probably tried to manipulate the public during the Paris attack, to make us close our borders, and maybe even more importantly, to close our minds. Please listen to this man who spent an unfortunate amount of time with ISIS and saw his friends being beheaded. He's telling you, don't help ISIS. The airstrikes help them. Refusing Syrian refugees help their cause, help their mad prophecy. Don't do that. It's a trap. So the more the modern world accepts people who are, yes, Muslim, yes, Syrian refugees, but ones that are running from ISIS because they hate ISIS, because they're in fear for their life from ISIS. Those are the guys we have to accept so that we can defeat ISIS. I know for people who like black and white solutions and easy answers, it seems counterintuitive to them. No, me see bad people come from that land. Me hate all of them. But here's a guy whose life was in danger, who saw his friends' lives being taken, saying, no, please, you've got to be smarter than that. You've got to be more sophisticated than that. It is not a black and white world. There are different kinds of Muslims. We got to reach out to those local people and get them on our side. Don't drive them to ISIS's side. It's an obvious trap. Please don't fall for it.